first witness is number 82, and the testimony can be found in page 13 of your virtual hearings statement bundle. Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
سلام بله من صداتون دارم.
Yes, I can hear you.
یکم صدا ضعیفه ولی
But it's
بله
a bit
صداتون
weak.
دارم.
I can hear you, but it's a bit weak.
I'm going to have the chairman of the tribunal swear you in. Mr. Chair? Mr. Chair, we can't
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for attending to testify to the tribunal. Would you repeat after me, please? I do solemnly declare that I will speak the truth.
من قسم میخورم که حقیقت رو بگویم.
I solemnly declare to say the truth.
The whole truth and nothing but the truth.
و کل حقیقت
The
رو
whole
بگویم
truth
و
and
چیزی جز
nothing but
حقیقت
the
نگم.
truth.
Thank you. There'll be questions now from Mr. Sabi and his team, the prosecution, and then the panel will probably have some questions for you afterwards. Is that okay?
نه ممنون.
No problem. Thank you.
Madam, can you please tell us what happened to your husband during the Aban protests?
روز شنبه
It was
25
Saturday,
آبان
25th of Aban.
علی به همراه دوستاش
Ali, my husband, along with his friends, were out.
اون روز کار علینا تعطیل
That
بود
day,
و
Ali
برگشته بودم
could not
منزل.
go to work, so he had come
هلوش
back home.
ساعت 4
It was
اینا
about
بود
4 p.m.
که رفته بودم
when
بیرون
he went out.
و تو شلوغی هایی که
And
بود
in the
همراه مردم بودم.
protests, he was standing along with the people.
روز شنبه
On
من
Saturday,
اطلاعی نداشتم
I
که
was
بیرون
not, of
هستم و
course,
خودشون
aware
به من
that he
زنگ
was
زدن
out.
و
He
گفتن
just called me and told
اومدم
me
بیرون
that he had gone
برای
out.
که دیدن خیلی
And
شلوغه
he had seen that it was
کنار
quite
مردم
crowded outside,
این
so he
علی
was
تا
standing along with the
ساعت
people. Ali, up to
5:50 با من در تماس بود
5:15, was in contact with
و
me.
طی تماس‌هایی که با
And
علی
during
داشتم
the contacts I had with
خیابونا خیلی
Ali,
شلوغ بود
the streets
همه
were
مردم بیرون
quite
بودن
crowded. All people were out. Many people were out.
چیزی که به من گفت این بود که
What he
میگفت که همه
told me
مردم
was
بیرون
that
زن
all the
بچه
people
و
are
چرا
out
شما
here,
هنوز سر کار
and
هستین و
why are you still at work?
نمیایین تو
Why
خیابون
aren't
من
you
گفتم
joining the
خب
people in the
چیز
streets?
خطرناکیه
I
تو
said, well, it is
برگرد تو
dangerous.
برگرد گفت نه
You
چیز
come back
خطرناک
home.
نیست
He
همه
said, no,
بیرون
it's not
هستن
dangerous. Everybody's
گفتم
out.
که
Well, I told
همکاران
him
میگن
that
که
my colleagues are
خیلی
telling me
شلوغ
that
سر
it
صدا
is
هست
quite crowded
علی گفت
outside.
آره
There's a
ولی
lot of
یه عده
noise.
خاص
Ali
20
said,
نفر
yes,
از
but
صورتشون رو
there are
پوشوندن
20, 30 people who
اونا
have
فقط
covered their
شیشه رو
faces. And
میشونن
those are the only people who
فوش
break the
میدن
windows,
بقیه مردم
swear,
فقط شعار
and the
میدن
other
کاری
people
نداره
only
عقب
chant
هستن
slogans. They are standing
طی دو
far
سه
from those
تماسی که
20, 30
من با
people.
علی داشتم
During the contacts I had for 2 or 3
نزدیک
times with
1:45
Ali, it
بود
was
که
about
با من تماس گرفت و
4:45
گفت
that he
که
called me,
مردم
and
همه
he
بیرون
said that
هستن
all
من
people are out.
مرتبه بهش میگفتم که
And I was
برگرد ولی
telling
من
him,
میترسم
come back home, I'm
گفت که
afraid.
نترس
He said,
من
don't be
میگفتم
afraid.
که
I
میترسم
was
که
telling him that I
مجبور
am
شه بیاد
afraid,
دنبالم و از خیابون برگرده
and he
طبق
might,
اصرارهای
he
من
should have come back home.
علی گفت که باشه
After I
تا یه
insisted
جایی
that he should
تماشا
come
میره
back,
من
he
بیام
said,
دنبال
come to a certain
بعد چند
place with
دقیقه
your car,
تماس
I
که
come and
گرفت
pick you
گفت
up.
که
After a while, he contacted me
اون
again.
سمت خیابون
And he said that on
خلوته
that part
چیز
of the
خطرناکی
road,
نیست تا
there are no crowds of people, so there is no danger there. You go to your mom's
من
house
گفتم
and
که
I'll
نه
come
من
and pick you up.
میترسم باید
I said, no,
خودت بیای
I'm
دنبالم
afraid. I want you to
گفت
come
که
and pick me
نترس
up.
من الان
He told me not
از
to
اون
be
سمت
afraid.
اومده هیچ
He
چیزی
said
نیست
that we
بیا
just came from that direction of the
بعد
town and there was no danger.
که
Come.
خیلی
I said,
خطرناکه.
I believe
میگن
it
که
is
یک
really
نفر
dangerous. I've
دیشب
heard that
در مراغه
an
شهر مراغه
individual
کشته شده.
was killed in the city of Maragha last night. Maybe the same might happen here. And they will have no mercy towards anyone. And I swore to him and I insisted that he should come back. And he said that he was with all his friends and he couldn't leave them alone. He asked me to go to my mom's house and he would come and pick me up. About 10 minutes later, he called me again. He asked me to leave and he said that he will come and pick me up. 5 minutes again later, when I was going to leave my work, I called him, and at that time his phone was not answering anymore. And I got worried. I immediately went to my mom's house with my car, as it was closer to me, and I thought that he would come there. Probably his phone was off. I got there. I asked my mom, where is my brother? He said that one of Ali's friends had called and said that something had happened to Ali. I said, what had happened to Ali? He said, I don't know, but apparently he has been shot with a rubber bullet in arm, and he was taken to the hospital. I said, how come? I just talked to him about a quarter of an hour ago. He said, and my mom said, no, he's fine. He's just got a rubber bullet in his arm. I called my brother after, and my brother said, don't be afraid. Ali is in the emergency section of the hospital, and he's fine. I said, can I talk to him? My brother said, no, you cannot talk to him, but don't be worried. His hand has only been hit by a rubber bullet. His arm has been hit by a rubber bullet. I said, can I talk to him, please, so that I would calm down? They said, no, they won't let us go to the emergency department, so you cannot talk to him right now. So I thought that I should go to Ali. When I was going to Ali, to the hospital, my sister also accompanied me. We walked to the hospital. It took us about 30 to 40 minutes. There were no cars. All the streets were empty of cars. People had overcrowded the streets. The streets were closed down. So we had to go take some other route. After 30 to 40 minutes, we got to the hospital. When I got to the hospital, I saw that my brothers and also Ali's friends were all there. I got afraid. I went to the nurses and I told them that my husband is here. How is he? And they said, who's your husband? I said, Ali Fotouhi. They brought him here. And they all looked at each other and said, he is in the room. I went to the room and I saw that Ali was lying on the bed. His shirt was taken off. And he had an oxygen device connected to him, and he had an injury on this left part of his chest. When I saw the injury, I saw it was very small injury. And Ali was a sportsman. He was always exercising. He's got a strong body. And this injury was not something that would cause a major problem for Ali. So I went to him next to the bed. I called him out, and he did not respond. I felt that maybe he is unconscious. Then I touched his hand and his head. And then I called him. He didn't answer. I went to the nurses again. And I asked them why nothing is connected to Ali. Why is there only the oxygen connected to Ali? And they said they are waiting for the doctor to arrive. And I once again went to Ali's room, and there were two other people over there. They were the employees of the hospital. They told me, do you want, please go out because the device will be disconnected. I said, no, I want to stay here. I'm surprised that no doctor is here. Nothing is connected to my husband here apart from the oxygen device. They said that your husband will recover. He's unconscious. We're waiting for the doctors to arrive. And I used to go to the nurses constantly and asking for the doctor. They used to come to the room. They used to force me out of the room. I was staying in the lobby, in the hall. There were some other patients in the emergency department, maybe about 40 minutes. I don't exactly know how long, but it was a long time that I waited for the doctor to arrive. I went after the doctors. No doctor came. And after about 30 to 40 minutes, a young lady doctor came and smiled and said, "I'm really sorry. Your husband has been shot in the heart. There is nothing we could do." I said, "You haven't done anything for my husband yet. He's been lying on the bed for an hour. And even before I came here, he was here. How could you say such a thing? You're a doctor." She said, "I'm sorry. There is nothing that we can do for your husband now." And then I didn't realize how I felt. I went back to Ali. I started shouting and crying. And I said that you should help him. And two of the employees, male employees, came and forced me out of the room. They asked me to go out and wait till the ambulance would come. The ambulance was coming and taking him to Tehran because nothing could be done there for him. After about a quarter of an hour, Ali's brother-in-law came and he hit his head. I got frightened. I immediately went to the room and I realized that Ali was put in a black body bag and he was being zipped up. And I shouted, I pushed them back, and I went, opened the zip and brought out Ali's mouth, and I said, "You're not allowed to take Ali. He's alive. Nothing has happened to him. Doctors should come and operate on him. He will recover." And about 5 minutes, I was just over there next to Ali's body. And my brothers finally came and separated me from Ali and took me. Then Ali was taken out to the hospital's backyard and put into the ambulance. After about 15 to 20 minutes, when I was still at the hospital, and I was shouting and crying, and my family were there, Ali's family were there too. Afterwards, a number of other injured people were brought to the hospital, all of which were shot by bullets. Most of them were young. They came with their family members, father, mother, and they were brought there. At this time, they passed in front of me. And some of them even did not reach the emergency section. Some of them did reach the emergency department. Some of them were put into body bags, and it was really cold then. And I went to the backyard. I went to the emergency department. And in the ambulance, I saw that they were putting some other bodies, to the extent that the ambulance had no more room for dead bodies. And then they closed the ambulance door and they said there was no more room. Take these till the rest so that we will have room for the rest. This is the conversation that they were having at the time. That's all what I can testify to. If you have any questions, I can explain.
Can you tell us, I'm specifically interested in what happened after you buried your husband, which I'm very sorry for your loss. You went to the prosecutor, and according to your testimony, you went to see the governor. So can you tell us about your time with the prosecutor? Do you remember the prosecutor's name? What was the conversation about?
It took them 3 days to give me Ali's body. And during these 3 days, his brother kept going to the governor, urging them to give them Ali's body. I didn't see the prosecutor himself. If I've understood your question right, when What day in particular were you talking about when you said, when did I see the prosecutor? Could you clarify?
I don't have a specific date in your testimony, but if you want to tell just from when did you start interacting with the prosecutor, or when did you file a complaint with the prosecutor in your town?
When they were about to give us Ali's body, they gave us, made some promises, and his brother, and they told his brother, we'll give you the body provided you do not tell anyone about this, you do not tell anyone about the incident. And they said there is, they've actually a file against Ali, and then we have to go and complete that file. Then they told us, you can come and file a complaint if you want. And I said, I can't go on my own. But they said you can, because you can come as his wife. And they gave me a text in advance, and they said, you have to write this, and this is the form, and then you can ask for compensation. I said, no, I don't want to write down the text you've given me. I want to write down what I want to say in my complaint. I want to know who the perpetrators are, who were the ones who murdered Ali, and why was he killed. And I'm not here seeking compensation. That is not the purpose of my complaint. And I went to Tahereh's prosecutor's office, and I said, I want to know who killed my husband. What permission? Why? Why did they fire a bullet at my husband? And they told me. Well, firstly, they said he shouldn't have gone into a crowded area where there was a protest. And then they said, well, we don't actually know. We have actually arrested some people, and we are pretty sure one of them was the ones who killed your husband. I said, have they confessed that they have killed my husband? If that is the case, please tell me, who was the culprit? And they said, no, we cannot tell you. We will tell you in due course. We can make some arrests, and we will tell you in due course, but not now. And they kept sending me to other offices. It was a very lengthy process. And I think it was around Ordibesht or May that they gave us, they sent us to Tahereh's governor's office, and then they said to me, Ali was, they called him a rebel and a rioter. And I said, what do you mean by a rioter? My husband had never hurt anyone, not even a fly in his whole life. What do you mean calling him a rioter? And they said, we know. We've done all kinds of investigations, and we have a file on him, and we know for sure that he was, but he was one of the protesters. And I said, I want evidence. Show me pictures. Show me evidence that Ali was one of the protesters. And they told me, we will follow it up. We will let you know. And they said that they will let me know in 10 days. And then they will take his name off the list of protesters, but they did not do so. And until this, just before the second anniversary of November, recently they called me and they gave me an address, and they said, you should take your ID card and go into this office. I said, I will never go there. I will only go there if you tell me you have arrested Ali's killers and identified them. I didn't answer my phone anymore whenever they called me from Tahereh's headquarters. And they kept urging me, saying, we just want to have a friendly conversation with you. And I said, I have nothing to say to you. call Ali's mother or Ali's family if you want. But they said, no, you are the one who is creating all this hue and cry, and we want to amicably sort this out. And I said, what do you mean you want to resolve this amicably? I said, my problem with you is Ali. Ali is buried, and I want to know what happened. After I put the phone down, I refused to answer their phone. They called my brother, they called Ali's brother as well, and they said she has to come, otherwise she will have to face the consequences. And so, accompanied by my brother, we went to Shahregh's headquarters. We were there for about 3 hours. And then and there was somebody from the Revolutionary Guards intelligence unit also present there. And when I got there, they told me that they have removed Ali's name from the list of protesters.
In your testimony, it says they had told you they removed his name from the list, and then they said they have already issued this order. Do you know what they meant by that, or can you explain what that meant?
I asked exactly the same question of them. I asked them, the IRGC, the Revolutionary Guard official, said, you told me 4 months ago that he was a protester without any evidence. Now, suddenly you're telling me he wasn't one of the protesters. How come, have you found some evidence? And they said, no, because we followed it up, and because at the time of the incident, we were inundated with all these files, and everyone was dealing with these files hurriedly. But now we have proven. And I said, even then, they had searched the CCTVs everywhere, and they had done all the checks, and they hadn't come up with any evidence to prove Ali was a protester. Why is it all of a sudden that one day you'd called him a protester and suddenly you decide to remove it? And they said, well, this is something that's happened. You should be happy that we've removed his name from the list now. I said, I really don't care whether you call him a protester or a martyr. I don't care. What is important is Ali was innocent and you are responsible. And they said, well, people from our forces were also killed. And I said, look, if you have any evidence that Ali had harmed anyone, any of your forces or anyone, I will accept that. But show me evidence. Yes, if your forces were killed, they were killed for on the line of duty. But my husband was an innocent civilian. He was going about his daily life, and he was killed with a bullet. So how can you call yourselves military and then and you're calling him Monafer or Monaferin or hypocrites or mujahideen, which you call them, and you're just telling me be happy again that his name has been removed from the list? I want to know who the murderer was. I want you to tell me why he killed my husband and who he was, because my husband was killed in the city where he lived. And he said, we will never be able to tell you. And this will never, that person will never be identified. We will never be able to tell you.
My last question before I hand you to the panel for questioning is, in your statement, you talk about the fact that they followed you on Instagram and they were threatening you. Have the threats continued? And I'm assuming you've come publicly forward, which we thank you for, because we know how brave you are to do this. Have the threats continued? Can you talk a little bit more about your situation now, because you are talking about this publicly?
Yes, just before, until November, they continued threatening me. They kept calling me on the phone, and they said, this is going to work against you, what you're doing. And they said, we are following your Instagram page. We are monitoring whatever you're doing online. You are talking too much. And I said, this is my personal Instagram. I can write whatever post whatever I want on it. And they said, no, that is going to be detrimental for you and also your husband. It's best to stop these Instagrams. I said, you have no right to tell me what I should do. Your duty is to find the murderer of my husband. They said, no, you have to be patient. Just be a bit more patient. Cooperate with us. Don't be like the other mothers and wives. Do not let them exploit you in any way because you are so vulnerable right now. And they're going to use you in order to put forward their own cases. I said, how come until November no one even approached me? And I had to speak to the press and the foreign press because you had ignored me. And you should announce the names. Had you announced the names of those who'd been killed on your national network, TV network, media, and then I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have contacted the media. They said, no, we cannot do that. You have to try and behave, be patient. And once again, they had called my brother. And they said, oh, you have to stop your sister because she's going to pay a price for that. It's not good for her. It's not good for the family. And my family was also under pressure. And also Ali's mother was very much worried that lest something happened to me. So, they were constantly, they said, you are lying, and anywhere in the world they would arrest you. And I said, no. Had I told lies, be sure that foreign media, no media would have listened to me. I haven't.
Thank you, Ms. Bajravani. Mr. Chair, the witness is for you.
Thank you, Counsel. Ms. Vestman, please.
Thank you, and thank you to the witness for her testimony, and our condolences of the panel are with you. I just have a few questions. The first is whether you were ever able to obtain an autopsy report.
نه هیچ وقت
No. I never received an autopsy report. The only report I received was the one. It was just on it said there will be an autopsy, but nothing else. I didn't get anything from the prosecutor's office, from the medical examiner, from nothing. No, I was not given any proper report, no.
Thank you. Can I also ask whether any additional people, parts of the family, were also threatened with respect to the search for information about what happened to Ali? You have testified that you received threats and were encouraged to stop making your inquiries. Or other members of your family also threatened?
Ali's brother and also brother-in-law, yes. They also told them to be patient, but not. They weren't threatened in the way that I was threatened. They were telling them that we want Ali to be called a martyr, and we will only do so if you do not propagate this issue. And they also received a written commitment from them not to say that anything had happened to Ali. Otherwise, they will take his body and rebury him somewhere unknown without letting us know. They just continued telling him and they didn't even have a proper grave or gravestone, a tombstone. They said, you have to be patient. We are going to call him a martyr. Just bear with us a while longer. But that's it.
And have you been able to visit his burial site?
Yes. Ali was sent to his birthplace, which is 560 kilometers away from here. And sometimes, yes, I do go there once in a while, yes.
Those are my questions. Thank you.
I think that's all the questions from the panel, Council. Unless, Justice Yacoub?
I'm sorry, yes, thank you. Did you, good afternoon to you, and thank you very much for coming to help us. What did you think of the high fuel price increase that had occurred about that time?
Well, we did not have a car. It was about a week before that it was announced on TV that there would be no increase in fuel prices. This was announced on the TV. And when on Friday, when we were coming back, the news announced that the prices of fuel has increased. And when the fuel prices increase, everybody's life will depend on it. The prices of bread and all other goods will increase. So people turned out on the streets on the Friday night, and people started protesting on the streets. On Saturday, the same continued. The people turned out protesting about a week before the government had announced that there would be no increase in fuel prices. And that was the reason the people turned out.
You feel about the price?
When the prices of petrol increases, all prices will increase. The price of rent, all the items that we buy, all the items that we eat and wear, everything, all prices will increase. We did not have a car, but we had to use transport means. So wherever we went, we had to pay for the public transport. So all the prices would increase. Our salaries wouldn't have gone up. So this was really annoying and unpleasant.
To do for a living?
He worked in a company he was a worker. He used to do construction work. Before he had joined that workforce in a few months before. Before that, he was jobless. He was unemployed. Yes, I did. And I still do. I work in a company, a private company, in the administrative department.
Is there an Islamic rule which says that burials must take place very quickly.
Can you repeat, please? Your voice wasn't clear to me.
Is there an Islamic rule, a rule of Islam, which says that people who die must be buried very, very quickly?
توی قانون
Yes, there is such a thing in the Islamic law. So if somebody dies, they say it is better to bury him as quickly as possible so that he would go to paradise faster.
یعنی آدم
So that means that he has been a good individual and he has been buried quickly.
Thank you very much. I have no further.
If there's no more questions from the panel, over to you, Counsel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Madam, for your testimony today.
Madam, just to confirm, Counsel, that's the end of your examination?
Yes.
Thank you. Madam, thank you very much for attending to testify at the tribunal. We are all sorry for your loss and respect your decision and courage to testify before us. Thank you.
من یک مطلب
Would you allow me to add one point?
Please do. Go ahead, Madam Witness.
I wanted to say the reason that I am here is for seeking justice for my husband who was killed innocently. This really bothers me that they killed my husband for no reason. That's why I am seeking justice for my husband. And secondly, I am here on behalf of all Iranian women who have lost their partners and husbands up to now and were not able to seek justice because of the conditions that prevail. Of course, every person has their own situation, but I have talked to a number of ladies who have lost their husbands. And I know how far they also like to seek justice and to litigate the death of their husbands. They wanted someone to hear their voice, so I represent them here too. I would like to thank you, and I hope that this court, this tribunal, would lead to a good result so that the blood of these individuals would not be trampled upon. Arban was an evidence to a great atrocity, and nothing can cover this atrocity, and nothing should allow these bloods to be trampled upon.
Thank you, Madam Witness.